Well, hello and welcome to the African News and Voice of the People television. I am David Edwin. Before we begin the news, we urge you to kindly visit our website www.vop.ng for fresh and trending stories. We begin the African news from South Africa, where the South African ambassador who was expelled from the United States and declared persona non grata by the Trump administration was given a hero's welcome on his return. The crowds at Cape Town International Airport surrounded Ibrahim Rasool and his wife Rosieda as they emerged in the arrivals terminal in their hometown, and they needed a police escort to help them navigate their way through the building. Rasool said it was important for South Africa to fix its relationship with the U.S. after President Donald Trump punished the country and accused it of taking an anti-American stance even before the decision to expel Rasool. The U.S. president issued an executive order last month cutting all funding to South Africa, alleging its government is supporting the Palestinian group Hamas and Iran and pursuing anti-white policies at home. Away from that report, Angola says it will step down from its position as a mediator between parties involved in an escalating Rwandan-backed rebel offensive in eastern Congo, with another African state set to lead efforts to get peace talks back on track. The ethnic Tutsis-led M23 escalated their long-standing rebellion this year, seizing East Congo's two biggest cities since January and encroaching into territory which is rich in mineral. As the current rotating African Union chairperson, Angola's President João Lourenço had been trying to mediate a lasting ceasefire and lower tension between Congo and neighboring Rwanda, which has been accused of backing M23 rebels. DR Congo and M23 were scheduled to hold talks for the first time in Angola's capital, Luanda, last week, after Congo's President Félix Tshisekedi, who had long refused dialogue with the rebels, agreed to send a delegation. M23 pulled out at the last minute following European Union sanctions against M23 and Rwandan officials. Elsewhere, the Sudanese army claimed new military gains in central Khartoum amid fighting with the paramilitary rapid support forces. A military statement said army forces continue to clear neighborhoods in central Khartoum from the RSF militants. The army shared a video of its forces taking control of the Al-Waha Mall in central Khartoum's commercial district. Footages also showed armed forces deployed in Al-Baraka Tower, Khartoum Grand Mosque, and Arek Hotel in the area. There was no immediate comment from the RSF on the army's statement. The Sudanese army had on Friday regained control of the presidential palace in the capital, Khartoum, for the first time since the war began with the paramilitary group nearly 2 years ago. In another development, Germany has temporarily closed its embassies in South Sudan's capital, Juba, because of rising tensions that have brought the East African country on the verge of civil war. South Sudan President Salva Kiir this week sacked the governor of Upper Nile State, where clashes have escalated between government troops and an ethnic militia he accused of allying with his rival, First Vice President Riek Machar. The standoff has heightened concerns that the world's newest nation could slide back into conflict some 7 years after its emergence from a civil war that killed hundreds of thousands of persons. In the meantime, South Sudan's United Nations peacekeeping chief, Nicholas Haysom, has also said he is concerned that the country is on the brink of relapse into civil war. Rule in the Horn of African country based on its own strict interpretation of Islamic Sharia law. Moving on, Egyptian Foreign Minister Badr Abdelatif has warned of the risk of escalating tensions in the region between two separate phone calls with his Lebanese counterpart, Youssef Raji, and Iranian counterpart, Abbas Araghchi. The Egyptian Foreign Ministry disclosed in a statement that Abdelatif's conversation with Raji addressed the alarming escalation in southern Lebanon, which could lead to further tension and instability in the region and exacerbated an already fragile situation. The Egyptian minister reiterated Egypt's rejection of any action that would harm the security, safety, and stability of the Lebanese people, underlining the need to uphold the ceasefire agreement in southern Lebanon. He called for the full and unconditional withdrawal of Israeli forces and enabling the Lebanese army to implement a UN Security Council Resolution 1701. He emphasized that the resolution must be applied fully and simultaneously by all parties without selectivity. In his call with Iran's Araghchi, Abdelatif discussed and disclosed the rapidly developing regional situation and the need to contain escalation in Gaza, Lebanon, and Yemen. Still in the news, Namibia's newly elected president, Netumbo Nandi-Edwata, has named Erika Shafuda as finance minister and Lucia Witbooi as vice president in a reduced cabinet. Nandi-Ndaitwah, who was sworn in over the weekend, also named Natangwe Italy as Mines and Energy Minister and Selma Ashipala Musavji as Foreign Affairs and Trade Minister. Shafuda worked in the Finance Ministry for about 21 years, with her last role there being the Executive Director of Finance before resigning in 2021 to join the World Food Programme as Deputy Country Director. Nandi-Ndaitwah, Namibia's first female president, reduced her cabinet to 14 ministers and 7 deputies from 21 ministers and 21 deputies by merging some offices and transferring some mandates to the ministers. Well, joining us now to make sense of these stories and more is Barrister Darlington Agumo, who is Voice of the People TV's in-house political affairs analyst and a barrister by law. Barrister, a very, very good afternoon to you.
Afternoon, David. And how are you today?
Fine, very well, thank you. How are you doing, Barrister?
I'm okay.
All right, Barrister, let's quickly get to Namibia and, of course, touch on this story. The newly elected president, Netumbo Nandi-Ndaitwah, has reduced her cabinet. Interestingly, a lot of quarters have said this seemed like one from a point where some presidents in Africa are expanding their own cabinet. 14 ministers and, of course, 7 deputies from 21 ministers and 21 deputies. What do you make of this, Barrister?
Yeah, that's the way to go because with the economic recession or crunch all over Africa, you don't need a bloated cabinet. It's only in Nigeria that Tinubu will tell you that he even needed more ministers. No, that the 48 is not enough. And I wonder what they are doing. So the woman came prepared.
Okay,
she has shown that she knows what to do.
Interesting. Now, what exactly is the risk of having a bloated cabinet? You would also recall the new elected Ghanaian president, I'm talking about John Dramani Mahama, also reduced his cabinet. What is the risk implication for having a bloated cabinet, Barrister?
The more expanded cabinet you have, the more money resources you are wasting on these things. And it's not as if each of the ministries are producing anything. They can't even produce something that will pay the salaries of their staff. So it's a waste. In Nigeria, it's a job for the boys, not that they are doing anything.
So it has to do with revenue that is coming in from that ministry? for you to be able to keep the ministry as a standing
At
ministry?
least, yes, if there is need, we can say, okay, this ministry, yeah, they are there because of this. Like the Minister of Blue Economy.
Right.
What have we gained from that place? What? We are still importing fish. I told him, if you don't have anything to go and fish for us. The whole of Lagos Lagoon is is the fish all over the place. Going towards Bakassi is fish infested rivers all over the place. Go and bring them for us. And let us say that under your watch, Nigeria stop importing fish. But we didn't see such a thing. So they are just there in name, They are just there in name. Not that they are doing anything fantastic.
Now, Barrister, you just mentioned a particular ministry that a lot of persons are presently questioning. As it stands, the Ministry of Agriculture, how very huge is this ministry? Because we understand that 1-2 other ministries, just like you mentioned now, have been carved out of that ministry.
Let us say that of ranching,
yes, Minister of Forestry.
Good. It came out from that to solve a problem.
Okay.
But have the problem been solved?
Unfortunately not. Because
so we are waiting for Jega. He said that he's going to bring a blueprint that will stop farmer-header clash. If that is clash, I've told you, that thing will not work because that's not the intention of these marauders.
What do you mean would not? What exactly would not work? What are
that ranching they gave them, it is not what they want. If it is what they want, they would have settled down for it since. But these people, their intention is to overrun Nigeria. That is why they are all over the place. Their intention is not to go and rear cattle and all that. No, they want to take over people's land by force. That is their intention. So when you now want to put them in a place, it's not in their tradition and culture. It's not in their character to stay one place and rear their cow. That's why I'm telling you that thing may be a wasted venture.
Now, Barrister, let's look at the character who the president nominates as ministers in these ministries. From what we gather here, Madam Shafuda did work with the finance ministry for about 21 years, which is the reason why the new president, I'm talking about Madam Netombo, picked her as the minister for finance, and of course, it's not questionable. Some ministries in Nigeria, just like the one you mentioned, Mr. Jega, a lot of persons have asked, did he have an experience in that particular?
That appointment was made out of what? Ethnic and religious sentiments. They believe as a Fulani man, he will be the one to handle that ministry. But like I told you, let's just watch and see.
Is there the possibility that quota system is truly being followed when it comes to our ministry?
No, it doesn't. It doesn't apply. It doesn't have. It's just there on paper, like Section 2 of our Constitution, where all these things are mentioned, so that every state, every region, every ethnic nationality will have a sense of belonging. In Nigeria, it's not like that, though. Like the appointment of Tinubu, go and check. Most of them are from the southwest. One region. A region here, even this southwest, got up to 3 ministers.
But he would say that his predecessor before now did even worse. So if the people did not complain, neither did the National Assembly blink an eye to that particular resolve, why then would we want to hoodwink the present president?
You see, that is the difference between a leader and a destroyer. That somebody did what was wrong before you came into office. Must you continue from there? Can you come out and tell us that, yes, I did my own differently? You can't, because you have done something worse. You can see now, people forget that after their tenure, there will be history to be read. There will be history to be written. So what will be your own history after you left office? Look at Babangida now, full of regrets. Look at Babangida, even as a military head of state. That man is not happy. He's not a happy man. He can never be. Because his annulment of June 12 is what we are suffering up to today. The man must have seen it and said, why did I even take this decision? And when he wrote that book, he was talking from his heart. For him to have come out and say, yes, this man won this election. These are part of the thing we are talking about. When leaders are in office and some of us are telling them, do the right thing because of tomorrow, they will not listen. After the damage has been done, they will start looking for somebody to blame. Like Babangida is telling us now, it's Abacha. It's Abacha that announced the election. It's Abacha. You people should go and bring him out and prosecute him.
Well, Barrister, looking at the fact that we now do the blame game, that we pass all around predecessors and even people who are still, still with us. Let's look at the present administration. The ministries have been established. Funds have gone into these ministries. Quite a number of these ministries have not returned back revenue. And as it stands, Nigerians are still waiting. The president is asking that Nigerians remain patient. His people are also saying, remain patient with this administration. They would get it right. We would get it right. How long would and should Nigerians wait for this administration to start getting it right when it comes to delivering on the promise of democracy that they did campaign upon? Because you would recall, they said several things during the campaign before the election.
There is no need waiting because nothing is coming. My people used to say that hunger that have hope, it does not kill. But in this case now, this hunger have no hope. That is the irony of it.
How do you mean, Barrister?
The hunger that is hitting Nigeria now will hit them throughout the Tinubu's regime. There is no point we say, okay, things are looking up, things are getting, because there was no timeline. Tinubu did not tell you that between so and so year, my administration is going to do this, so that we can look up to it. But there is nothing. That will tell you that even he himself, he doesn't even know where he's going. If you know where you're going, you should know when you get there. In this age and time, when you are on a flight, you should know when you'll arrive there. At least there will be no hold up in the sky. Is that not true? There will be no hold up. So you must know when you'll arrive where you are going. But for him not to have said anything, it means that he doesn't even have a time, or he doesn't even know what he's doing. He just say it just to keep you down, just to give you hope. Meanwhile, there's no hope. Look at, in the next 2 months now, he will be 2 years in office.
I was going there, Barrister. So, after 2 years in office, the next you see is another circle of campaign for another 4 years. Then when should Nigerians be expecting the promise that was made by this administration and even the previous ones?
I will advise you on my own, don't wait for Godot because he will never come. You see this promise, forget it. At least a promise saying I can see her, but Tinubu's promise, I can't see it.
Interesting, Barrister. You have to take a swipe on one of our colleagues here. All right, Barrister, let's get to another conversation quickly. The German embassy has temporarily shut down their office in South Sudan as a result of the rising tension in that land. A lot of quarters have asked why this quick move. But of course, according to the German authorities, for security reasons of their people. But then, looking at the situation in South Sudan, Salva Kiir is not giving in. Riek Machar is also not giving in so easily. They are still at loggerheads. What do you think might happen in the coming days when it comes to both economical development and, of course, with political tension rising in South Sudan?
I have told you here that, look, leaders in Africa, in this age and time, they should put on their thinking cap. This warring thing is not enough for you to destroy the little resources you have because of what? Ego. Because of what? Superiority. Because of what? Power. At the end of the day, what happens? What happens? That is the question here. The earlier they sheath their sword and then come to the negotiation, the better. Because none of them, these people that died now in that war, where did they go? Did they carry the war to where they're going? Did they take anything? No. They just died like that. And so these leaders, one day, they too will go. So this infighting, in fact, the white man, I adopt my heart for them. You can't see them fighting in this manner. What for? Have you seen any European nation fighting this type of useless war? Where there is nothing at stake, nothing, just ego. who will be in power, who will be at the head, who will be below. Is that not what is going on here?
Right.
So the earlier because I know it will definitely stop one day, but my concern here is the damage that would have been done before you come to your senses.
I mean, international communities right now are not even, they're trying to just stay away from them. And this is a country that just got her independence a couple of days ago.
Independence. Can you imagine? So what was the reason for fighting for independence? You came out from a government that you said was oppressing you, only for you to start oppressing yourselves. My dear, something is wrong with Africa. I'm not joking. I've told you before. I don't know the type of human species that God brought here. I don't know how to describe leadership in Africa. It's so bad that you can't even describe it.
Now, Barrister, looking at the fact that the German embassy has been shut down temporarily, what statement is that particular move going to tell the European nation in the coming days?
All of them will take suit now. They will, when they see that things are escalating beyond control, all of them will shut down. And that is bad for the economy of that country. I mean, what else do you expect? They want to save their people. You see countries that value their citizens. The moment they see that something, immediately they will evacuate their people. You people can kill yourselves. I have been saying it, the United Nations should remove this sovereignty of state, especially in time of war like this. People should intervene and nip things in the bud. Don't say it's an internal matter. Internal matter, women are dying, children are dying. Structures are being destroyed. Internal matter. And so, no external force should intervene. That is not the way to solve the African problem. The UN should take they should put it in their charter. Whenever there is signs and reasonable suspicion that things are going to happen, let them step in. Because if they have done the needful, Rwanda wouldn't have happened.
But then again, Barrister, when they step in and, of course, start acting on possibly informations that they've heard, don't you think that would be a major infringement on their sovereignty as a state?
No, not the moment you come into a place, you should know who is behind what. All you need to do, rein in the combatants now, the ringleaders. Bring them to the round table and then, tell them that this thing cannot go on, or even threaten them with ICC. That's the truth. There are things the UN should do to stop these unnecessary wars in Africa. Rather than allowing when things have been destroyed and life have been lost, you now begin to do intervention, negotiation, round table discussion and all that. It's unnecessary, seriously. What Sudan have lost now, in the next 50 years, they will not recover it.
Quite unfortunate. Well, South Sudan...
For a young nation.
A young nation fracas amongst themselves. Even in Sudan, the army made a statement just a couple of hours ago to say that they've been advancing against the rebel faction that consistently have also been giving them so much insecurity issues in the country. Now, you would also recall that the paramilitary rapid support forces, that's the RSF, practically were taking over a major place, like, of course, the presidential hotel, which, of course, the Sudanese army have taken over again. But looking at these consistent rebels' action in both South Sudan and South Sudan itself, don't you think that this is far too many for a country who have experienced major wars and have lost so much persons in the hundreds of thousands to these kind of unrest?
The question is, what kind of leaders are they? If the Bible cannot be wrong, when bad leaders are on the throne, the people suffer. Most of the leaders that are in these countries where there are wars, go and check their background, go and check who they are. They never meant well for the people. If not, that war wouldn't have started in the first place. But when you have bad leaders who benefit from war, this is what happened. They go and create a war so that they can benefit from it. Are you telling me that people are not smiling to the bank with that war in Sudan? Both Sudan and South Sudan. Are you telling me? Some people are smiling to the bank. They are making a killing out of that war.
At the expense of the lives of
Life
the
of
civilians.
people, yeah, the people, yeah, that's what I'm telling you. So the people do not matter in Africa. But look at Western world. Immediately you start this your rubbish here, they will evacuate their people to safety and allow you to kill yourself since you don't have sense. Eh? That's what I just told them now. Since you don't have sense, kill yourself. We are going, you know. So
Interesting, Barrister. Well, before I let you go, I'd like you to also touch on the fact that Angola seemed to end, of course, the mediation between DR Congo and the M23 rebels. This, of course, came as a result of the fact that just last week, precisely Friday, the president of both Rwanda and DR Congo found themselves in Abu Dhabi to have a conversation with the Foreign Affairs Minister of Abu Dhabi. But looking at the fact that they did not show up, I'm talking about the DR Congo president sending a delegation, isn't that a statement too heavy for Angola, who is trying to mediate on the issue? Let's not also forget that the Angolan president is a current AU chairperson. Of course, the rotational chairperson.
you can see now. You see that mentality is still with us, even among our leaders. So the mediation in Abu Dhabi, that is UAE,
yes,
is now better than the one that an AU chairman had brokered. Hey, God Almighty. And these countries are members of the AU.
Yes.
Are we not supposed to find solution to African problem?
Why do you think they chose to go to Abu Dhabi rather than go to Luanda, where they have agreed before now to have that meeting?
Maybe they claim that is a neutral person. But these are Muslim states. I don't know whether DR Congo or the rebels are or even Rwanda are Muslim states in Africa. I don't think so. So why did they prefer to go there?
Some quarters have said it's because of the economic development that they get from these countries.
Really? Two of them get economic development, Abi? Or they went there for sightseeing. They want to go and see a beautiful city built by men who refuse to go to war for anything. They just went there for sightseeing, nothing else. They want to go and see the beauty of Abu Dhabi. That's all. And then enjoy their delicacies.
Barrister, what is the implication of not honoring a mediation that you already agreed to? And of course, in the end, you are found in some other country having to have another conversation.
I said because you don't have faith in African solutions.
So African problem does not have African solution?
No. Go and check. Always, it is always foreigners that will mediate. Foreigners. You know, and we are very happy with that because if foreigners are mediating in our matter, they are telling us what to do and what not to do. They are telling us not to kill ourselves. You can imagine. Foreigners are telling you not to kill yourself as if you don't have sense. Look, I don't want to say things here that even make me feel more irritated because it's unthinkable. It's unthinkable. That means there's nobody in Africa. In this 21st century, in this civilized world, Africans cannot find solution to their problem. Can you just imagine? So why did you have AU? All these regional bodies, why do you have them? Even South Africa could not mediate.
Well, some quarters have said these other countries have their own problems. But again, the question...
Their problem cannot degenerate to this genocide going on. Their problem cannot be. They may have some issues maybe with the economy and politics, but how many times did you hear that they are fighting over there? Over what? Over what? It's not possible now. That's why they are making progress.
Interesting, Barrister. But then again, one question that some quarters have been asking is, why would even Angola decide to have a conversation with the rebels like they are a major factor to reckon with in the first place?
The man is AU leader. He must find solution. He must use every means to bring solution to the problem. That's the truth. He must use every means. The rebels, so what are you people looking for? Maybe, like I told you, they don't even know what they're doing.
Wouldn't that also mean that you're giving these rebels more power?
No.
And confidence?
No.
That they are recognized?
No, if you don't, maybe the war will escalate. The man is trying to find a solution, remember?
Right.
Good. It's not the time to start apportioning blame. I think it's a tripartite, discussion.
Yes.
Rwanda, the rebels, and DR Congo. So when they sit down, then from there you find solutions. Is that not true? Because Rwanda have been denying that they are not backing the M23 rebel. Remember?
Right.
So it is during that discussion you now find out what
is backing
good. You find out the truth. But for reasons best known to them, they abandoned it and went to Abu Dhabi.
Quite unfortunate.
And apparently, Abu Dhabi may not even know the historical factor. They are not going there to tell them the truth because these people are not on ground. If you are telling an African something and it's happening in Africa, for him to find out is very easy. But look how far away Abu Dhabi. They will go there and tell lies to each other, and then the government will now say, okay, this and that. They will clean glasses and then smile and then come back. And the war continues. Then the next time, maybe Japan will now call them, come. We can give you electronics to stop your war. Is that not okay? So that you'll be watching film instead of fighting.
Quite unfortunate. This is where we just have to draw anchor on the analysis segment of the African News. We've been talking with Barrister Darlington Agumo, who is Voice of the People TV's in-house political affairs analyst, and of course a barrister by law. Once again, Barrister, thank you so very much for being here.
It's my pleasure.
The rest of the African News will continue shortly, just after this quick break. Do stay with us. Glad to have you back. It is still African News right here on Voice of the People television. Now to more stories. Gabon's Constitutional Court has approved a list of 8 candidates to run in the Central African nation's presidential election next month, including interim President Brice Oligui Nguema, who seized power in a military coup in 2023. Although transitional leaders are not usually allowed to run for election, Gabon approved the new constitution by a landslide in November that exempted Nguema. Nguema ended the long-standing rule of his predecessor Ali Bongo and his family over the oil-rich but impoverished nation in the coup, the 8th in West and Central Africa between 2020 and 2023. Nguema's main rival is tipped to be Bongo's last prime minister, Alain Billy, who is running as an independent candidate. Other candidates approved by the court include Stéphane Germain Iloko Bosungui, a former member of Bongo's Gabonese Democratic Party, and tax collector Joseph Lapense Esigion. Gabonese entrepreneur Genga Shanig Zanaba is the only woman running in the election scheduled to take place on April the 12th. And here in West Africa, President John Dramani Mahama has reaffirmed his commitment to economic transformation in the northern region, pledging investment in agriculture, infrastructure, and energy to unlock the region's full potential. Speaking at the Greba Palace in Yendi as part of his thank you tour, President Mahama described the northern region as crucial to Ghana's economic revival. President Mahama outlined his administration's plan to revitalize the agricultural sector, stressing the need for irrigation projects to mitigate the effects of climate change. He pledged to prioritize agribusiness, mechanization, and modern farming techniques to boost food production and create employment opportunities, particularly for young people. The president also announced a series of major infrastructural projects aimed at addressing long-standing challenges in the region. Key among them is the completion of the long-abandoned Yedi Hospital and the modernization of health facilities in Tamale to improve healthcare deliveries. Still in Ghana, the Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations has reaffirmed its commitment to sustainable forest management and ecosystem restoration by participating in the national launch of Ghana's Tree for Life Reforestation Initiative. The event, held at Kufo Park in Nkawie, Ashanti region, was led by President John Dramani Mahama, who highlighted Ghana's dedication to restoring degraded landscapes and promoting sustainable forest management. Organized to coincide with the International Day of Forest 2025, the launch event brought together government officials, community leaders, and other partners. FAO Assistant Director General and Regional Representative for Africa, Abebe Haile Gabriel, provided remarks at the ceremony, during which he reaffirmed the organization's support to Ghana. The theme of this year's International Day of Forest and Food highlights the essential link between forest and food systems. Elsewhere, the Zimbabwean government has confirmed and condemned the demonstration held by nurses at Sali Mugabe Central Hospital, saying the industrial action was illegal since the grievances they raised were already being addressed. Nurses at Sali Mugabe Central Hospital recently downed tools, protesting deteriorating working conditions, paralyzing operations at one of Zimbabwe's largest referral hospitals. The nurses last week gave management of the hospital a 2-week ultimatum to address their concerns. The healthcare workers raised alarm over lack of basic amenities such as electricity and running water, which they say are comprising both their ability to work and the provision of care to patients. The nurses expressed frustration over government's failure and addressed issues that have plagued the healthcare system for years, describing the situation as unattainable. You're still watching the African News right here on Voice of the People Television. More stories in business and sports after this quick break. Stay with us. We're back now to some business stories. Ugandan Airlines has dismissed reports that the British government has blocked its newly announced direct flights to London Gatwick, reaffirming that its foreign carriers permit remains valid. The airline issued a statement today denying allegations that UK authorities had revoked its rights to operate the route. The response follows a report by The Sun, which claimed that UK Foreign Secretary David Lammy has ordered an immediate suspension of the route over Uganda's human rights records. The article alleged that the British government was reviewing sanctions against Ugandan officials and that Prime Minister Keir Starmer's government had been embarrassed by the UK Civil Aviation Authority's approval of the flights. Elsewhere in the world of business, South Africa's government and state-owned logistic group Transnet are looking at new ways to attract private investment in the country's ailing freight rail network. Transnet has struggled to provide adequate freight rail and port services because of equipment shortages and maintenance backlogs after years of underinvestment, with rampant cable theft and vandalism also damaging the network. Speaking in a televised speech, South Africa's Transport Minister Barbara Crecy blamed the development on limited availability of state resources to fund infrastructure development, adding that an online request for information to private sector investors has been launched. And from business, we move straight to some sports stories where Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang scored twice as Gabon claimed a 2-1 win over Kenya in their 2026 World Cup qualifier in Nairobi, moving 2 points clear of Ivory Coast in the race for a place in the finals in the United States, Mexico, and Canada. Gabon, who had never qualified for the World Cup, moved to 15 points from their 6 games in Group F, while the Ivorians have 13 points from 5 matches and are next in action at home to Gambia. Aubameyang scored his first goal with a fine finish from 15 meters that burst through the goalkeeper's hands before he added a second from the penalty spot following a handball in the box. Kenya are now likely out of the running with 6 points from 6 matches. Still in the world of sports, Rwanda maintained the 124th position in the world and 35th in Africa in the first FIFA World Ranking of 2025. The ranking could, however, drop following Friday's 2-0 loss to Nigeria in Kigali in the World Cup 2026 qualifiers. The highest ranked team in Africa is Morocco, who are 14th in the world and are followed by Senegal, Algeria, Egypt, and Nigeria, who makes up the top 5. Argentina are world number 1 with France, Spain, England, and Brazil completing the top 5 in the world ranking. And with that, we've come to the end of African news right here on Voice of the People Television. Do well to subscribe to our YouTube channel. On YouTube, we are at Voice of the People TV, and on all other social media platforms, we are at VOP TV Live. Thank you so very much for being part of this broadcast. I am David Edwin. Do have a good afternoon.